but I'm not a teacher. But it's the same with me. So if you look to that, when did I change from work? Well, I think I was a talented engineer, writing software for telecom switches, and I had a passion. And I learned a lot. And I wrote software, I think people were pleased with it. I hope. But then something happened. I lost my passion. And when you lose your passion, you don't learn anymore. And if you don't learn anymore, in a business that is changing very fast, you become incompetent. And if you become incompetent, you don't like to go to work, because you don't have the answers anymore. So when I was, that was in 88, so in 88, my boss knew I didn't like the job. And he offered me another job. And that job was becoming responsible for the technical training center. I remember. So suddenly I got another job, doing interviews, new people coming to the company, and developing a whole new learning environment that new hybrid scale. We hired 3 or 4 people, not classes. So I was working with open learning, 88 computer-based training, video, everything. I had open learning center. And suddenly I realized I was so passionate about learning. I developed new learning systems, and then I had the opportunity to become a training manager, because I got really interested in management development and personal skills. So passionate, I became president of an association of training managers. Myself, not the right degree, but I learned every day. I became corporate learning officer for Siemens Belgium. How can you change a big company, 17,000 people, to a learning organizations? I did it for 3 years, and then I gave up. Why? Passion, talent, and information, but not the authorization. Impact of information luxury. Okay? So if every table comes up with one word to describe what you think is the most important thing, I give you 5 minutes. I'm not a coach, okay? But if you think you're ready, raise your hand. I have the word. I count to 5 and then it stops. Okay, that's the deal? So the first table which says I got the word, the rest stops. That's a good word. Okay, so come up with a word. We have information luxury. What is the impact on everything? One word, based on this thing and this thing. Start. What is the most important thing?
Change.
It's
change.
Change. Yeah, but yes, I come back. Yes, what?
Overload.
Overload. You're kidding me. There's no overload. Yes.
Transcendence.
What?
Transcendence.
I got hearing devices. I'm an old man. Don't tell it further.
Transcendence.
Transcendence.
Okay. I think I got it. Okay, that word. Okay, God. No, I'll try to get into it. I will try because otherwise there's still so many stories to tell. So I just want to explain to you. I first want to address that thing about information world. How can I explain? Imagine you're a fish, the water, and somebody puts more water, in the sea. What do you say of the fish? Oh, again more water. No, you don't do that. You know why? A fish is passionate to swim. Right? So now think about it. Now imagine that you do a job, but you don't have a passion to suffer. Then you can say to other people, we have information overload. I agree with that. But if you're passionate to suffer, you will look to find only the information you need to go further. There is no information overload. There is no information overload. The only thing we have to learn is how to find the right information. Now we have tools. This is what I call, Jef Staes, learning competences. So, and this is what I explained to you before. How do we recognize people who have passion to suffer? Two things. First thing I explained to you, go and look what they Google. And if you're a teacher and you don't Google in your free time about learning systems and learning environment and technology, you're not passionate about your job. Think about it. And the second thing is, if you're really passionate about your job, you start using different learning channels. You start using Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, video, and that's what you do. And I see it with my wife. My wife, she's on a pension now. She was a primary teacher in the primary schools. She was working with children with learning, whatever, special name for that. And at the end, she gave up because there was too much administration. She wanted on the pension. Don't video record this. She said, and she started working with clay, ceramics. And she has this, and I put clay on it and put it up like this. You know what it is? So if I ask her what I Google, it's always about clay. And she uses different channels. So now she's looking to videos on YouTube, going to forums and communities, because she wants to do it right. That's the passion to suffer. So the passion to suffer results in two things. What information you look, and you start to use different channels. Now you can answer that for yourself. If these two questions are negative for you, then education has a problem. Understand? Understand? Really understand it? Then you either should look and start another job. But maybe that's too hard to understand. The next thing is, and this is really interesting,
making to the world. Okay, so would you kind of say global citizens, maybe that sort of idea? Wow, this is great. Oh, so that's, you sort of get some big ideas and then you kind of slip down to a small one there. So recognizing patterns. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
We said vertically and horizontally aligned with other things, not necessarily science.
Okay, so is the idea of what you call those transferable skills?
Yeah, it's either that or, all of those skills can be transferred to English.
You're an English teacher, I would assume?
No.
Okay. I was thinking maybe that's where it all ends up in an English class. Transferable skills. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir? Sorry?
Psychomotor skills.
Psychomotor skills. What do you mean by that?
Skills depends on doing activities.
So,
Implement the information
Okay.
knowledge.
Okay, so you're getting down into it's a very minute skill set, yeah?
Yeah. It depends on innovation and creativity.
Okay, so does it promote innovation? So could we say it involves creative thinking? Creative thinking.
Discover the knowledge.
Okay, so new knowledge.
Yeah. Evolving society.
Sorry?
Evolving society.
So the idea of, again, the global citizenship.
Yeah.
Good.
Problem solving.
Problem solving.
Science education.
Anybody else?
Should be related to cognitive thinking.
Okay, so improving cognitive thinking. Improving cognition. Well, these are all big fancy pedagogical terms. Good. Same thing?
I think for our age group, it must be hands-on and it must be relevant to their lives.
Okay, so let's talk about the relevancy. The hands-on thing is more of a sort of a methodology.
Relevant, like they should understand why they're learning this, and they should see the pattern they're learning about in the class. You should be able to see it when they leave preschool,
Rather advanced. My English
and they
is
should be
down
able to
there.
talk about it when they see it in their lives, and explain it to their parents and their friends.
Spelled that wrong.
Yes.
Right, you guys know what I'm saying. Couple other ones?
Can I say it's all about connectivity?
Okay, so sort of transferable skills, or there's more than that? Not skill set, but connectivity between sort of what? What do you mean? What kind of connectivity?
Connect all what's related to science to the real world. There should
Okay,
be
so that-
reality.
okay.
Reality and other words.
Connectivity, yep.
The technology, integrating the technology.
Okay, so that idea about integrating technology, that should be involved in our science classes.
Engineering.
Integrating tech, okay. Just a couple more, let's, yes?
Discovery.
Just enjoy discovery. I think that's wonderful. Because that's what we take away from them sometimes, isn't it? Just the joy of discovery.
Explore, experiment, and interact.
I mean, I remember my daughter when she was very small. She's 18 now. She's not into science, of course, because she's trying to beat daddy. But I remember when she was a little girl and we would take walks, and she'd always be way behind me. You know why? She'd suddenly be looking down and there'd be some ants or a caterpillar. She'd take her shoes off and she'd walk through the grass. It's a shame we lose that after a while. Last one, perhaps.
Understand scientific inquiry process.
Okay, so the process of investigation. Do we have something on there about the trajectory, recognizing patterns? So the idea that it's just a whole act of being able to investigate something.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to draw it there because what I'm going to do now is I'm show you what I came up with. And I'm going to leave your stuff on the board. And the next time I do this presentation, I might add to this. So this is what I said.
Can I add one more thing?
You certainly, who's that? Yes.
Raising curiosity.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Raising curiosity. The joy of discovery.
There is another important point. Science education should be interactive and experimental.
Yes, for sure. So perhaps would that come under the investigating, the experimental nature of it? Okay. So here's my themes for this workshop. Here's one of them. Real world thinking. I spelled it wrong. Relevancy. Real world thinking. I also said healthy skepticism. What do you think I mean by healthy skepticism?
To be or not to be, that's the question.
Okay.
You want to encourage them to also ask questions.
Sure.
How this happens? Why this
Sure,
happens?
don't just
I'm not
take
sure.
it
Let's
as-
try to prove it.
Don't just tell me, show me. And today it's so easy for people to be misled by powerful authority figures that tell us things because we think, well, they must be the sage of the stage and they know. A little healthy skepticism is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Just don't take things as face value with what research says. And I always tell them, what kind of research? Who's researching? What was the research like? How big was the sample? How representative was the sample? Because I teach in secondary. So,
Exactly what I
so
meant
this
by that.
is, just don't tell me research says.
Yes. And sometimes we do that in these workshops. Research says, and you just sit back and nod your head and say, well, I guess I'm cognizant citizens. Global citizens. That idea, you came up with these. well. So the idea we are members of a society, we're members of a family, we're members of a country, we're members of a world. I think we need to be able to make informed decisions when you're a consumer. And what I mean by, do you know the expression snake oil merchants? You ever seen the old cowboy movies? Probably you're all part of them. The old Clint Eastwood cowboy movies, country western stuff, where snake oil merchants used to, by the side of the road, would sell snake oil. And it would solve everything, from marital problems, to cancer, to tuberculosis, to you can't sleep well at night, try some of this. Yes, that's sort of the panacea that will solve all. There's a lot of that out there. And lastly, and he came up with that one as well, so I think everything that is on there is on there. So we all sort of know this already. So why are we teaching to a very small, narrow curriculum, content, skill set, when it's got to be much bigger than that? So what I'm going to try to do today is to give you some ideas about how you can start to tease kids and how you can give them those tools so that they can do these kind of things, so they can go this way. So we're going to start with something. Make this fun. Is it magic? No, it's science. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to do a little demonstration for you. You know the shell game? Move things around. I was a young university dropout for a little while, and I ended up in Soho district of London. I don't know if you've ever been there. And there was a fella that was there with those little shells. He had a little bit of it, moved them all around. And he was getting bet where the pea was. And they were always getting, what he does actually, he's quite smart. Because he lets you win a little bit, and then he has you go double or nothing, and double or nothing, and sooner or later, you know, well, I got it the first time, I can't get it anymore. The addictive nature of gambling. And I stood there and watched it. I dropped out of university, I didn't have a lot to do on my time. Watched him. He saw me watch, and I saw his little trick. And I did this trick. I'm going to do it now for you. Okay?
Listening to their impression, but you're also sort of making some mental notes of if they said something went well that didn't, and it's part of your coaching, you're going to have to really unpack that, help them understand why, where the disconnect is. So this is a chance for the person just to talk, and this is also a way for you to get a really good insight or look into the way that they reflect. So if you saw a lesson that wasn't so good, but the person's talking about how great the lesson was, you know you are going to have a more interesting conversation than if, based on the general impression question, that there's some alignment. And so let's talk through that. So again, you're letting the person talk, not interrupting. Next part. So I've only asked one question so far, and that one question was, how do you think the lesson went? In my mind, I have selected as a coach an area of strength. So when I look at the lesson, and here's the thing, I've never seen a lesson, and I don't know what my total is, 5,000. I've never seen a lesson that I couldn't pick out something to build on, some strength. Now keep in mind, it's all relative. So what would be a strength in one teacher's class may not be a strength for a different teacher, but it's all relative based on where that teacher is, if that makes sense. But my question here, the second bullet, self-reflective question, here's what I found to get people thinking about something positive. Simple question. If you could teach this lesson again tomorrow, what is one thing you would do the same? If you could teach this lesson again tomorrow, what is one thing only that you would do the same? There's a couple of things that I'm trying to accomplish with that question. Number one, I'm saying one thing. So I'm making them reflect not just on all the positive, but the most positive. I'm making them think through and reflect what had the biggest impact in a positive way. But then I'm going to have examples from my notes, because when I'm in the class, I'm not just sitting passively, I'm taking notes on both what the teacher's saying and doing, but also what the students are saying and doing. So as we start to unpack that area, I'm going to have specific examples that I can share. And then we're going to have some recommendations for them how to take that strength in that one lesson and then how to put that same strength into other lessons, whether it be in elementary across different contents or in secondary across same content but different standards and practice. And that's the area of reinforcement. What's important, go ahead. Yes?
I just have a question.
Absolutely.
What if the lesson went well? Do I need to really find, something, sometimes, because you're the teacher and you plan the lesson and you know your children, so based on that, you kind of expect how it will go, through the flow of the lesson. And it works the same way you expect it. So when someone asks you, well, how do you think it worked? Okay, I'm the one who planned it, not somebody else. And I'm the same person the next day, and sometimes it works. I mean, it doesn't have to have things I need to change every single time.
Well, keep in mind, this is not what we need to change. This is what went well. The first one is a strength, reinforcing. And the reason...
No, I mean, for the answer, you said that most teachers would say, the ones who are struggling would say, oh, it went well.
Right.
What if it really went well?
Well, that's great. If it went well, they probably wouldn't be a struggling teacher, though, if it went that well. And that's something we can unpack. But one of the things, if they're teaching great lessons, maybe they're not a struggling teacher. But I haven't seen a lesson yet that there was one area of strength that we can use in other lessons and one area to improve that we couldn't improve to impact other lessons. I haven't found a teacher or a lesson yet where I couldn't pick out something to say, this was this was a strength of the lesson, and this is something we need to work on. Yes?
I think this is about us as teachers. We're always, as teachers, thinking about
Yes.
our own teaching strategies. We're
Yes.
always challenging ourselves. Even if this went well, I'm sure something didn't go just well.
Absolutely.
And because we have changing students every year have a different challenge. You change constantly.
Yeah,
There's always
but I
something
mean,
it doesn't have to mean that it goes wrong, but you just
Right.
it's a challenge.
And
It's challenging.
absolutely. When I use the word weakness, I want to point out that it's all relative. So, for example, there could be a great lesson, but isn't there something that could be improved? I've taught a lot of lessons. I've done a lot of presentations. When I walk up there today, I'm going to name 5 things I should have done better, including not talking so much. Starting with that.
That would be very
How can I make it better? Because I believe if you're satisfied with what you're doing, then there is no area for improvement. You feel like you have like 100% lesson going well, but no, you have to think, how will I make it better next time? Well, I did so well today, but what about tomorrow? Are you doing it the same thing? Are you doing the same thing over and over again? Then no area of improvement at all? I guess this is something that you have to think about.
I'm just saying that, knowing that this is going to be the wrong answer, so sometimes you would feel that it was a good lesson. Sometimes I would feel that, no, okay, I should have done that. It's not one, one thing the whole time. Maybe you'll think later on, like maybe a year or so, when you teach it again, that was not that perfect. This one is perfect.
Yeah, so one of the things, I don't need to move on, but one of the things that even a great lesson has room for improvement. So I've never seen, and again, I'm not telling me I'm not a great teacher, but I've seen great teachers, and I've never seen a lesson that at least one thing could be improved. So, yes, one last thing, and then we move on.
That
Yes.
state is more of a temporary, it's not a permanent feeling. You get to feel maybe that the lesson is perfect, but definitely at some point you're going to, maybe you're going to take the lesson again. If you're going in, you're going to go. Actually, that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that. We do need to, I want to get through the 3 levers because I did promise you. That's okay. No, it's good dialogue. Again, I'm talking too much, but that's coming to an end in just a moment. Refining the teacher's skill. Guess what? This is very similar to reinforcing. Remember, refinement is an area of growth, an area that we need to work with the teacher to grow in some way based on that lesson. So this will come as not a big surprise to you, but a great question that I found to ask is, if you could teach this lesson again tomorrow, what is one thing that you would do differently? When I ask that question again, I'm accomplishing the same things. I'm making essentially the teacher think about prioritizing the different things they would do differently to just one. And that's the one that we're going to unpack through questions. Again, just like the area of reinforcement, if I'm a good observer, I definitely have evidence from my notes. And that's going to be critical because of the things that you told me that you wanted. We need to make sure that we have evidence to back those up, that it's not opinion-based. And then we're going to provide an example, and this is where, as a principal, if this is not my content area, I may get help from another teacher, but an example then of what that growth area may look like in an upcoming lesson. And then we're going to close it out. And again, from start to finish, if you're doing this in less than 5 minutes, I would say you may be a little too superficial. If it's taking you more than 30 minutes, that's probably overwhelming. I will share with you, again, this is when I was a lot younger and had more hair than I currently do. But I had a 2.5-hour coaching session with a teacher that she wanted, in a good way, wanted to unpack and understand and talk through all the nuances. But 2.5 hours is pretty overwhelming, both for the teacher and for the coach. That's a long coaching session. So I promised I would stop talking for a moment. Here's what I'd like you to do. On your page, can I borrow this for 1 second? Okay, great.
The label, just write down what it is. Students might be singing a song with somebody, they might be playing the guitar, just write that down, okay? And finally, as you're watching, think about subject areas and also concepts that the project is rooted in. If you are an IB World School and you're doing the MYP, you've got a kind of concept-based curriculum, okay? So we're looking at, we might be looking at water scarcity or systems or something like a big concept like inequality, right? So if you notice any concepts that are explored through the project, write them down, or simply academic subjects. Is there maths happening? Is there music happening? Etc., etc. Okay? Right, I'm going to hand over to the American International School of Mozambique.
Nyaka Island is a subtropical island of Mozambique off the east coast of Maputo. The island of Nyaka acts as a barrier that protects and gives shape to the Maputo Bay. Without the island, the marine trade in Maputo would not exist, and the Maputo city would suffer severe damage from strong waves and hazardous events such as tsunamis and hurricanes. The island became a protected marine reserve after the independence of Mozambique.
We go through the down-up approach. We start by integrating ourselves with the community, trying to understand their problems instead of just trying to fix them without knowing what's really happening. We first started collecting data with various members of the community. We made various graphs using objects that the community was familiar with, such as coconuts, sticks, leaves, and these graphs included the expenditure graph, the time trend, etc. We also had a transit walk.
The Tales of Nyaka, which is going to be a photojournalism book. It is based on humans of New York, but in this case, the community of Nyaka, because it's so isolated, has a lot of cults, traditions, and tales.
we've managed to take about 100 photos so far. Within the next 3 trips, we want to make books.
Even without this language and this barrier, I still feel that I understood the community better at the end. We stayed at the chief of the community's home, and
something that if your school's a member of the Association of International Schools in Africa, ASA, they actually celebrate exemplary service learning, and I think they got $2,000 for that. I shared another example yesterday in the other session. What stages of service learning then did you see were in evidence? All of them, okay?
It's an experience.
Yeah. So they were it was a rigorous process, very research-based. In terms of the action, there was a whole range of action, right? Was there direct service?
Yeah.
Give me an example.
They built the well.
Yeah, building the well. Yeah, advocacy, the Tales of the Nyaka book, telling the stories. Was there indirect service?
If they donated the proceeds of the money, then...
Yeah. And how about the action research? Where was that taking place?
Surveying and collecting data.
Yeah, surveying and collecting data. So, interviews, surveys, data collection. Absolutely. We're here together till 3:30, aren't we? Okay, wonderful. Because I've got a big activity coming up. Subject areas. Hands up. Yeah.
There was math, statistics, geography, environmental science, history, English, and I don't know what else would I miss. I missed something.
Filmmaking, multimedia, expressive arts. Yeah.
And I have business. There was marketing and sales skills that I cannot remember.
Yeah, with the marketing of the book. What concepts were students exploring? What were some of the big ideas that this project was rooted in?
Maybe collecting data, water and sanitation, building tanks and pumps, how to keep water fresh.
Right. So water, hygiene and sanitation. Yeah. There was lots around water, wasn't there? Obviously water's not a concept in itself, but this idea of kind of hygiene and sanitation. And resources, resource depletion, resource accessibility, etc., etc. Anything else? Statistics, okay. So that's a subject area, like a specific part of maths that was actually explored.
Barriers like culture or language.
Yeah. Okay. Culture and community, a different way of living. Okay, community building, and they mentioned they lived very differently to us. They stayed in the chief's house, so they were learning about the culture and social interactions. Collaboration. Also identity, a big concept explored. How many people in some area of their curriculum explore identity with their students? Okay, what subject area do you teach?
I teach all subjects. I'm an IB teacher.
Okay.
So you know, it includes everything.
Right.
So identity is mainly...
كم المسافة التي يجب أن نصعد فيها وصاروا يحاولوا يتقافزوا ونشوف من القفزة الأعلى. طبعا هذا كلياته في مستوى إبداعي. هل لنا أن نتخيل عنصر من هذه العناصر من غير الثلاث البقية؟ لا، هي ثالوث متكامل متوازن. طيب ما الذي يجعلكم تعملون أحسن أو تخططون أكثر؟ أريدكم بسرعة نفس الآلية، الفشار سنقفز وكل واحد منكم يناقشني نقطة. ما الذي يجعلكم تعلمون أفضل؟ خططوا جيدا وبالصبر ضمن توقعات متسلسلة. أقفز ما تستنيش، قومي على طول يلا.
بالنسبة للتخطيط كويس إن إحنا هنقعد مع أطفالنا نفهم طبيعتهم، نحكي احتياجاتهم الأول، إيه اللي ممكن أنا أأثر عليهم باللاعب المناسبة ليهم وتفكيرهم وقدراتهم العقلية. أخطط كويس جدا، أختار اللاعب المناسبة ليهم.
قالت كلمة مهمة، قالت اهتماماتهم. أنا لازم أفهم طلابي وأفهم اهتماماتهم. تفضلي. لا تكونوا أنتم محور الصف،
لا تكونوا أنتم محور الصف واسألوا أكثر. الاثنين شطارة مرتبطين ببعض. أنا ما
لا أنت دي لا تكونوا أنتم محور الصف، لا تكون معلم، المعلم ما يكون محور الصف. اشرحي لنا أكثر.
لا تكونوا أنتم محور الصف. أنا مش أنا اللي بقعد أتكلم، هنسيب هو يتكلم. أنت شايف، أنت خايف إيه من ده؟ أنت عايز تعرف إيه؟ أنت عايز تعرف إيه؟ نسأل بعض.
طبعا مثل ما الآن نفعل، مثل ما احنا نفعل الآن. هل أنا محور الصف؟ أنا فقط أوضح وأنتم بتجاوبوا. طيب شاورهم في تعلمهم. يلا مين اسم الشارع القادمة؟ تفضل.
ان انا اخلي الطلاب هم اللي يحددوا هم عايزين يدرسوا ايه الاسبوع ده. يعني انا بعرض عليهم المهام واقول لنا نيجي النهارده مثلا عندنا حصه املاء مثلا وتعبير وقراءه ونحو وصرف مثلا، هم يرتبوا هم عايزين يبداوا بايه ونمشي على الفولو اب سكيدجول. بدل زمان لما المعلمه كانت بتقوم بعمل الويكلي بلان هم بيعملوا الويكلي بلان وانا كنت ملتزمه بالاتفاق معاهم.
صح. اضافه على المكتوب وفي جزئيه بنتكلم فيها بعد اللي هي ما هي الانشطه اللي يحبذها طلابي ليتعلموا هذا التعلم. يعني لو نريد نعمل مثلا كتابه، طيب ماذا تحبون؟ كنت دائما اسال ماذا تحبون؟ هل نرسم ولا نعمل مخططات ولا اوفر لكم صور جاهزه ام نقرا نص ونعمل على منواله؟ فكان هم دائما يختاروا، وطبعا اختياراتهم كلها مقبوله لان في الاخر يتحدثون في مجموعات. اللي عاوزين صور جاهزه، اللي عاوزين يشتغلوا على نص، اللي عاوزين يتخيلوه، اللي عاوزين يمسحوه. فهمتوا كيف؟ ففي كل واحد لهم اسلوبه. طيب الفشاره القادمه. يلا نناقش. هيا يلا نناقش. تسمع؟ يلا قلنا اسمع. طب يلا مين حابين يشارك اكثر؟ يلا استاذ. لا هتسمعنا. لا انت محاضر ايضا. نريد وافروا مصادر اصيله للتعلم وتجارب عميقه. كيف هذه تؤثر في التعلم؟ كيف تجعل معلمين افضل؟
لسه داخل
طيب انا ساقول. طيب يلا تفضل معنا. هيا.
مصادر أصيلة وتجارب عميقة زي القصة حضرتك قرأتيها دلوقتي بحاجة تأثر في نفسيتهم أكتر.
صح. كل ما كانت مصادرنا أصيلة. إيش المصادر أصيلة؟ من حياتهم، بحيث إنه ياخذوا هذه الأشياء من السياقات تشبه حياتهم.
لا هو انا قصدي في النقطه ديت ان انا اوفر لهم زي فلاش كاردز او حاجه مرتبطه بالحاجه اللي هتعلمها، فلما بيشوفوا حاجه بشرحها مرتبطه بيها بصور او مرتبطه بيها بفكر معين علشان في الاخر اقدر اخد منهم فيدباك فده يبقى احسن.
والاجمل انه المصادر هذه تكون متاحه لهم. اذا اعطيتهم بطاقات في الصف ممكن انا اعمل لكل واحد مجموعه من البطاقات يعملها الزين. اذا كان في مثلا فيديو حابين يشوفوه ماذا نفعل؟ القول موجود على هذه اللينك في اليوتيوب، ارجع شوفه في البيت، ناقشوا مع ماما. عرفتوا؟
كيف بعمل العكس؟ يعني انا بعرف بجهز المصدر، هو بيبقى شكل واحد من المصدر او شكلين من المصدر، وبديهم هم بقى الماتيريال اللي هم يعملوا بيها اللي هم عايزينه.
رائع.
يعني كل
المرحله الداعيه.
احسنتي. كل طالب بيعمل اللي هو شافه اللي هو استفاد منه. ممكن تبقى قول مقطوع، ممكن تبقى رسمه.
مراعاه لماذا؟ للفروقات الفرديه، مراعاه لاساليب التعلم.
وهيحتفظ بيها كوسيله ينفع يراجع منها بعد كده.
ممكن يعيرها لصديقه. احسنتي. طيب دعوهم يروا شغفكم فيما تفعلون. يلا اسمعي.
يعني كل ما يدخل الكلاس عندي يلاقيني عامله له حاجه متجدده، مره حاجه باوربوينت، مره حاجه فيديو، مره صوره، مره لينكات ويدخل منها. فكل ما يدخل عندي ويلاقي حاجه متجدده يبقى عارف ان انا مش مجرد ان انا هقفل. لا انا عايزه اجدد له باستمرار عشان يبقى مشارك معايا باحسن صوره.
طبعا كلنا نعرف، شكرا لك، كلنا نعرف كم هو الشغف معدي. مش المثل يقول جو مستعد تسهر؟ فنفس الشيء الشغف، لما تكون انت انسان شغوف وحابب تسويه تلقائيا ستنقل هذه الطاقه للاخرين، هذا شيء جدا ضروري توفره. تدرجوا في مشاركه التعلم. تدرجوا في مشاركه التعلم، كيف يكون ذلك؟ يكون ذلك بالتخطيط. يعني انا لما اخطط ابدا اعمل ارتباطات التعلم على رايكم سنه سنه. درجه درجه. كيف اليوم بدانا؟ بدانا من ماذا؟ ما هي الالعاب؟ هو اللعب. والآن نتكلم عن كيف نراعي أن الألعاب تكون مناسبة لأساليب التعلم، للتعليم، للاهتمامات، وندخل أكثر في العمق. نفس الشيء مع طلابنا، نخطط لهم صح، خذ من وقتك 80% للتخطيط، لن تحتاج أكثر من 20% من وقت الصف، يعني بيكون في الصف تقريبا ميسر، تخش معلم تضل كثير من تتعب نفسك.
لا وحضرتك برضه استخدمت طريقه جميله جدا في التعلم دلوقتي، ان انت حضرتك بداتي معانا بالمفهوم عن اللعب، وبعد كده حضرتك كنت قايله مثلا احنا يعني حضرتك مش بتجاوبي على كل حاجه، احنا اللي بنعمل وبنقول عن طريق انك توصلي لنا درجه.
إذا نحن نعطي الملكيه للمتعلم، اخليه هو المشارك مش انا بس بحضر، انا حضرت وحاول ان اسهل بالضبط.
You said that you were working on 3 things, 2 of them worked and the other one did not work. Why do you think the third one did not work, and how did you prepare for the new project not to have the same outcome?
Thank you. I think the reason we did not make progress on professional development was that we had the model wrong. And we didn't understand enough about what the teachers needed, what the schools needed, what we wanted. So we didn't start from where they were. The starting point was, well, where we want them to be. But you have to work from where people are. And my experience of working with teachers in schools here in Egypt is there is so much capacity, there is so much passion, so much energy, so much potential. But the environment has to be right, the culture has to be right, the leadership has to be nurturing that potential, and it has to be leading, not managing. The external environment has to be supporting and not monitoring, inspecting. Training, development, support has to grow from within and not be imposed from outside. Because all the lessons of international research across the globe says that teacher development that takes place away from the school context does not work. It is a waste of money. And you're talking about resource here. You have a very large school population and limited resources to educate them with, and that includes support for teachers. So spending vast amounts of money that you don't have on professional development that does not work and is proven to not work is a criminal waste of resource. Change has to come from within, and the capacity, the energy, I've heard it, and Vivian is translating for me, I can hear the energy, you know the problems and you know the solutions. So you have that potential, what you need. The environment will translate that capacity, that's potential, into capacity.
اوكي هحاول افتكر كل حاجه. that's fine. هو كانت الاجابه الاولانيه كانت انه السبب الاساسي انه لما ابتدى المشروع ابتدى من المجتمع هم مش فاهمينه، من سياق هم مش عارفينه كويس، ابتدى من مكان هم يتهيأ لهم ان الناس فيه، لكن لما ابتدوا يشتغلوا في المشروع لقوا ان الناس في مكان تاني، علشان كده الجزئيه دي ما نجحتش بالشكل المناسب. هو أهم حاجة في تدريب المدرسين أو تحسين المدرسين، أهم حاجة هو شايف إنه شاف في المشروع إن المدرسين كان عندهم كفاءات عالية جدا، وكان عندهم استعداد عالي جدا، وكان عندهم إقبال عالي جدا، لكن كان في احتياج تاني، احتياج للمحيط اللي ممكن يساعد ده على إنه يبان ويتحرك ويقدر يستمر ويتطور. فإيجاد المحيط ده بالنسبة للمشروع هو كان اللي ناقص، وده اللي بيحاول يعمله المشروع الجديد، هو إيجاد الثقافة العامة والمحيط العام من بالذات في القيادة، إنها تكون بتقود مش بتدير، وبتساعد المدرسين وتدعمهم مش بتقيمهم وتشوفهم عملوا ولا ما عملوش، دي حاجات يعني. فبتغيير ده ممكن إن كل الكفاءات اللي موجودة تقدر تتطور. وهو بيقول إنه التريننج أو التدريب لوحده ما بيعملش، مش هو اللي بيعمل التطور. التدريب لوحده اللي بيتكلف فلوس كتير، اللي بعيد عن سياق المدرسة، ملوش دعوة بالحقيقة، مش ده اللي بيعمل التطور. اللي بيعمل التطور الناس تتطور في مكانها، في المكان اللي هي فيه، وسط الثقافة اللي هي فيها، ونقدر نحل لها مشاكلها اللي هي موجودة فيها. وبالذات لو كان احنا فعلا يعني لو نشتكي من الريسورس او نشتكي من المصادر اللي موجودة، فنبقى حذرين شوية في المصادر دي بنصرفها ازاي او بنعمل بيها ايه.
Albert Einstein once said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I would say top-down attempt at strategic reform of education is a definition of insanity.
هو كان بيستشهد في أينشتاين لما قال إنه يعني شيء مش من العقل إن ممكن إن الواحد يقدر يعمل الحاجة الفاشلة مرة، يعني حاجة ثبت إن هي ما نجحتش ويقدر يعملها مرة ومرة ومرة كمان. وهو بيقول إن في العالم كله مش هنا بس في إثبات إن أي محاولة لتحسين المدرسين اللي جاية من فوق لتحت مش بتنجح. فالأحسن إن إحنا نجيب الموضوع من تحت لفوق. طيب هل في أي أسئلة تانية حضراتكم بتحبوا تشاركوا بيها؟
كنت عايزة أسأل علشان هم قالوا عملوا تقييم قبل ما يشتغلوا في المدارس للموجود فعلا، هم عملوا تقييم في مرة، فازاي يشتغلوا على التقييم ده علشان يقيموا ان المدارس دي هي اللي تختار المشروع الأولاني بتاعهم؟ والحاجة الثانية المشروع اللي انتهى بالفعل ده إذا كان في متابعة دلوقتي، إذا كان في نتيجة ولا لا؟ I can ask in English to stay with you. Yes. You said you have done an assessment for the selection of the 45 schools you've worked in. I would like to know how you did select the schools based on one's existing capacities, and if the completed project has followed up on some peer-led or like some action from the schools to spread the knowledge to other schools, like a transfer of knowledge.
Sorry, could you repeat the second part of the question?
The second part is about the follow-up on the first project outcomes. If it has been transferred, the experiences of the model has been transferred to different schools, or the school has led the change for different teachers.
Yeah. Thank you. The two-part question. The answer to the first part is that the first question was about how schools have been selected, the 45 schools, for participation in this project. I was not involved in the assessment because how could I select, how could I be a judge of capacity in an Egyptian school? That was done through a needs analysis process, a collaborative needs analysis process, which was the faculties of education in Helwan and Ain Shams and Alexandria. The schools were selected from schools already working in partnership with those universities for pre-service teacher education and teacher development. So they were all initially a long list of schools were selected where it was felt that there was potential for being so supportive leadership, action-oriented leadership, high-quality teachers, and it was felt that the environment may be right. The university faculty teams then worked over a period of 6 months, carrying out a need analysis with key individuals in the schools. And start engaging in this work. And only time will tell whether that is, whether the selection is right. Clearly that's going to be crucial, but it was built in the local knowledge of the school. Would you like to translate that bit, then I'll answer the second part?
All right, well, hello everyone. Welcome to our last session, I think, right? Yes? And you found the room. So we didn't know it would be a treasure hunt, but hopefully there will be a good prize for you in the session that we will do today. So my name is Wes Fryer, and again, right now I'm the Director of Technology at my school, but I have different chances to both help teachers and students create media, and I'm very excited to get to share this session with you, because today you will learn a very practical product which you can use in your own presentations. So as you have a PowerPoint, you have a presentation, you can use this. Also, as you share articles, basically every article that is shared today on the web has a picture with it, right? We are a media society. And so globally, I think this is an important part of literacy, is being able to not only communicate with text, but communicating with images and media. And today we're going to join text along with images. And so the great thing is, whether it's English or Arabic or Spanish, which is the second language I speak a little bit of. Hola. It doesn't matter. Hola. Estoy feliz para quedar aquí en ¿Cómo estás? How do you say Egypt in Spanish? Egipto. Muy bien. Okay, so I'm not going to talk Spanish. But anyway, seriously, whatever the language is, visuals are a universal language, and helping students be able to take a little text that gets to the core of an idea and then being able to share that, it's a wonderful project. So this is something that you can do, and I try to do as I share ideas. It's something you can show your students. And I'll be showing you a tool today that is, yay, free. We like free and awesome. So this is both free and awesome. And I am not with Adobe. I'm not an Adobe person. Adobe doesn't pay me money to do this, but I've used a lot of different tools. You can use Google, actually, to do this as well. But the tool we'll use today is Adobe SparkPost. So hopefully, if you did not get one, you get one later too, the little stickers. This link to wfryer.me/eduforum has all of the resources for today. And I'm going to show a few slides, but what I really hope to do is show you the process and then let you create, and I will answer questions. How many of you have taught a class of students where you're all trying to do the same thing? Have you tried to do this? It's very hard, very difficult. And because we're all at different levels, right? Some people may be very, very fast. Some people will have trouble logging in. Sometimes logging in is really the hardest thing. I sometimes teach young students too, so it often is the case. Welcome, come on in. So today, in fact, if you would like to do this now, on your computer, on your web browser, so in Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, whatever your web browser is, it should work. You're going to go to this website, spark.adobe.com. Yes. I'm going to say, log in or start now for free. Now, how many of you have a Google account? So you log in with Google. Great. I recommend using your Google account. Again, I don't work for Google. Google doesn't pay me. But do you know the term, I've drank the Kool-Aid and I like it? I've drank the Google Kool-Aid. I've gotten to do a lot of work. I've got to do some work with Google. It's important to see all of the parts of using technology and the privacy side and all of those things. I'm concerned about that. But as an educator, the Google tools are very powerful. We have used Google at our school for 6 years. So all our teachers' email, we have Google Documents, all of that. And so I really do like for them to create accounts, all right? And that's what we do at school, is we have Google accounts for students. We create them at first grade. They don't really start using them really until second or third grade. But anyway, if you are a teacher and you want your students to use this, what Adobe recommends right now is that you create a class account, not your account, right? And is that working? Is that working for y'all? Spark.adobe. For those of you that have come in, we are going, if you'll go to the website, spark.adobe.com, and go ahead and log in. I'm going to go through the steps of showing
Oh, okay.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's not finding us.
Any information?
Thanks. Maybe those of us who arrived can circulate and help others.
Sure, but actually it does not. I can't go. I enter
عشان نتأكد إن شايفين الموضوع ممكن يكون هيك افتحي من
Yeah, cbworkshops.moodlecloud.com. Moodle Cloud with 2 O's. moodle.com. How about we get started, and if you guys will keep circulating, I'll start talking, and we'll get as many people on as possible. If you can't get on, then we'll match up with the class.
You can work with me.
Okay. So what? So we'll get started, and then after I talk for a bit, that's good. So we're starting from scratch. Yeah. How about some other form of virtual classroom or learning management system?
Google Classroom. Google Classroom counts?
Google Classroom kind of counts. Yeah. Google Classroom creates kind of a great environment for teachers where you can store stuff and share things and share files. Yeah. But Moodle goes a little bit further. Moodle is an open source software. Does everybody know what open source means? Open source means that it's free. The group of people that developed this, it comes from Australia. They developed it a long time ago, because I've been using it since about 2000. So it's been around for about 15 years, I think, or thereabouts. The people that developed it because they wanted to create a learning tool that could be used by anybody, anywhere, for no money. So it's free. It's not freeware, quite exactly, but it's open source software. And what they did was, when they built it, they published the code to the world so that developers could take the code and improve it, and change it, and modify it. Okay? If you use it at your school, if your school has a server, a local server, it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost anything. If you don't have a local server,